Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Jaclyn Gallo with us today. She's founder and CEO at Spark Your Light Studio. She's a TEDx speaker and keynote speaker, 2x bestselling author, and host of the Spark Your Light podcast. So today's going to be a fun conversation. It's presented by podfire.com. If you want to start or scale your podcast, go to podfire.com. Jaclyn, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. A bit more about myself. So, as you mentioned, I am a speaker, a writer, an entrepreneur, and my journey began in my early 20s, almost a decade ago, which is crazy. The time has gone so fast. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur from a young age. So, I pursued some ideas I had. Long story short, they all failed. And I felt like such a failure. I felt lost. I felt so down. I didn't know where to turn. And so I just started reading books to try to pick myself back up. And I became really interested in personal development and the way the mind works. And so I started talking about it just for fun on the internet, and people started listening. And so that's how I started speaking and writing. And then I got certified as a life coach and kind of built my career from there. So that's a little bit about me. I would say my biggest passion is helping people feel sparked inside. So that's why my whole brand is Spark Your Light. I want more people to be able to wake up every day and feel like they actually have something to look forward to, that they're excited about their life because we're the creators of our life. And I just feel so many people are kind of just going through the motions in life. So that's really my main purpose and mission in my work.
Very cool. And tell me about that failure. Why did you consider yourself a failure, and how does that apply with the mindsets that some of your clients might take upon themselves nowadays?
Yeah, well, I spent a total of about 50K that I did not have. I raised money on Kickstarter. I borrowed money from my parents. I saved up all my tips from waitressing. I was still in college at the time. And so I launched a product that failed, and then I launched an app that failed. So I felt like after two tries, it wasn't the idea, it was me. Something was wrong with me. I wasn't capable. I wasn't good enough, which ultimately wasn't true, but your mind likes to trick you. And it's something that I think so many of us struggle with because whenever we try something and it doesn't work, we feel like we're the problem versus the lesson. And we don't understand that oftentimes we're getting the exact lessons we need. And so one of the biggest things for me and that I teach it to my clients and in a lot of my speeches is about resilience and the way we see failure. And so I reframe my definition of failure. And the way that I choose to see failure now, which I encourage anyone listening to take this definition if it resonates with you, I see it as either a lesson or a redirection. So the lessons I see as the exact things that you need to achieve your goals. And one of my favorite stories that paints this picture is an old story. I think maybe it's a parable from the Bible, or I have no idea where it came from, to be honest, but I heard it one time. And since then, I've been hooked on this story. It's about a girl who wants to climb a mountain. And so she prays to God and she says, please, God, help me climb this mountain. And so she starts climbing. She feels like things are going really well. And then all of a sudden, the mountain dips and she finds herself in a valley. And in the valley, there's a series of ups and downs and ups and downs. And she feels so frustrated because every time it looks like she's going up, she starts going down again. And so at one point, she just gets so pent up with that frustration and she screams out, God, I asked you to help me climb this mountain. Why are you doing this to me? And God swoops down and says, you asked me to help you climb the mountain. And I looked at you and I thought, oh no, she won't make it to the top because her legs aren't strong enough. And so I thought to myself, what could I do to possibly help her climb the mountain? And I decided to put you in this valley where there was a series of ups and downs because with each up and down, your legs were getting stronger and stronger. And by the time you exit this valley, you're now strong enough to make it to the top of the mountain. And I think so many times in our lives, we think we're failing, but we're really just in that valley strengthening our legs. And that's something that really helps with the mindset around entrepreneurship and anyone pursuing any goals. So those are the lessons. And then the redirections are more of this isn't your path in life, but maybe you thought it was. And so there's some divine intervention helping realign you to the path that's meant for you. And I experienced that building an app. I thought, oh, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do, build this app. But the truth is that I'm not a very good tech CEO. I'm much better talking to people. I'm much better writing and using my skill set. But I thought, well, I'm supposed to build this app. And so if the app had been successful, I would have never found my calling as a speaker, as a writer, and I would have never been able to help the people I've helped and do the work I do. So the app had to fail. It was a redirection to where I was meant to be because at the time I had never even considered this for my career. And so I believe that every time we fail, it's either falling into one of those two categories. And sometimes you can't see it while you're in it, which is the hardest part, but you have to trust that it's going to add up to where you're meant to be or teach you the right lessons in the future. And if you're struggling with that, just look at your past because we all have a lifetime of evidence of this.
Yeah, in general mathematics in the world of startups, it's like 100 tries, you might get one success. Also, twice is like, yeah, it's a real endurance game out there, and it's getting harder and harder, everything considered equal. Now, this app was in the wellness field, and it was because of your eating disorder that you started that one.
Yeah.
Tell us about like eating disorder nowadays, humans and their relationship with food.
Yeah. So this is my first kind of passion in business was, it's always been what have I struggled with and what do I think is still a problem and how can I help others? So when I was in college, I really struggled with my relationship with food. I think there's so much in the media around, health and weight loss that can be really positive, but it can also turn really negative. And so I struggled with yo-yo dieting, which led to binge eating. And I actually gained 30 pounds when I was in college, constantly binge eating, constantly going on another diet, and just having a really disordered relationship with food. And I got really lucky because I went to a dietitian on campus and she pointed out that this was extremely disordered eating patterns, which I didn't even know because everyone was dieting and everyone had that kind of yo-yo swing of this really extreme restrictive diet and this binge eating. And so once I learned that that was super unhealthy and that even though it seemed normal because I saw a lot of other people around me eating the same way, it actually was really bad for my health. And so when I reframed my relationship with food, one of the biggest things was balance. And so allowing myself to eat the foods that I had called off limits so that I didn't binge on them. And so I wanted to form an app kind of around that idea of how do we help people, especially women, because I know that especially disordered eating and body image issues are prevalent among women, also men, but it's something that a lot of statistics show that women in particular, teen girls, young girls really struggle, especially. And so that was kind of my intention with the app and some of the things that I did in the beginning of my career. My first book is called The Cust Method, and it's all about my struggle with food. And I interviewed food psychologists and dietitians to really understand like what causes this unhealthy relationship and how do we heal it, and share my story. So it's a powerful issue that a lot of us struggle with, but the good news is that there is help out there. And if someone happens to be listening and they might feel like they're struggling with that, my recommendation would be to read the book Intuitive Eating. It's a really good place to start. It helps you just learn how to regulate your body based on its hunger cues and fullness cues, as opposed to based on diet culture.
Right. And your decision to become an entrepreneur, do you feel that entrepreneurship is for everyone? And what do you have to say about the lifestyle of being an entrepreneur, and potential burnout?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's for everyone. Just completely transparent. Some people are just wired differently, and it's something that they will thrive in, and other people may thrive better in a traditional career. And that's a good thing because if nobody thrived in a traditional career, we wouldn't have employees, right? And so entrepreneurs wouldn't be able to be successful. My decision really came down to both that passion and also the fact that I knew I could not thrive in a traditional career. So I was in an internship. It was my junior summer of college. And after about 2 months of it, I thought to myself, is this what I'm going to do every day for the rest of my life? I just was so bored. I couldn't do it. And I thought, well, maybe it's a different job. But I quickly realized it was the mundane routine. There were so many aspects of it that I just knew deep down I was meant to be an entrepreneur and I didn't know what and I didn't know how, but I knew I just couldn't work for someone else. It was too boring to me. And I think that those are the most successful entrepreneurs, the ones that aren't necessarily chasing money. Money is a byproduct. It's a great tool, right? It affords us an amazing life, but it comes when we're playing the game and when we're doing it for that joy and that game that's in it, as opposed to just strictly chasing the money. Because if I was just strictly chasing the money, when it got hard, when I failed, like you mentioned, it's an endurance game. I wouldn't have had the endurance because money just doesn't mean enough. But because I knew that my fulfillment was really resting in creating a business that I could enjoy running and be challenged by, that gave me the endurance to keep going. And I think that some people have that, and some people are just content at their traditional career, and that's okay too.
Right. What does a day in your life look like nowadays? Being a mom, do you still do fitness stuff? Like, how do you make sure to have all these habits to keep yourself happy and productive?
Yeah. So I had my baby 8 weeks ago. So it's definitely evolving. I am committed to my physical health, my mental health, but it looks different than it looked when I had a lot more time, right? When it was just me and I had my business. You're in control of your business for the most part. Yes, sometimes you have different things on your calendar that you can't move around, but generally you make your schedule, right? You decide what you do and when. But now I have a baby that makes my schedule, right? When he needs to eat, when he needs to sleep. And so I have had to really look at what's most important from a business perspective, what makes me the most money, right? And what's the best use of my time? And what are things that maybe I did before that I don't need to keep doing? From a health and fitness perspective, what do I enjoy the most? If I have an hour to do something, what do I want it to be? So I love spin class, so I'll try to get away for a spin class, especially if I have childcare. Let's say on a work day, then maybe I start my day with a spin class and then I work after that, which is really great. I've had to do a lot more walking because I can do that with my baby, which is great. And then from a mental health perspective, I like to journal and do different things like that. So I have to ask myself, okay, when can I fit that in my day? It doesn't look like, okay, I have this nice hour-long morning routine, but it looks like, okay, baby's sleeping for an extra 30 minutes. I'm pretty wide awake. I'm going to sit in my bed right next to the bassinet and I'm going to write in my journal and get sorted on some ideas I have and work through some things that maybe have been bothering me. So it looks a lot different, but I think it's a great thing because so many people are busy and have all of these things going on in their lives, whether it's a family or something else. And it's important to learn, how do we maintain our habits, even in a way that looks different than it looked before, in the chaos, because that's what's really going to help you thrive. And so I'm still learning, but I do my best to just evaluate what's most important and where can I fit things in. And I think that those are really great tools to have in life in general.
And who do you learn from nowadays? What does your learning habits look like?
Hmm. Yeah, good question. I will be honest and say I don't read as many books and listen to as many podcasts because I'm so, caught up in the day to day. A lot of it is my own self reflection and my own intuition. But I've spent years and years reading books and listening to podcasts, and I will never stop doing that. So I would say in this phase, it's been really my own guidance and just kind of reflecting on what I'm feeling and what I think will support me the most based on my past experiences. And I like to look at others and what they do in their career and emulate people that inspire me. So like there might be other speakers that I see who have children and see, okay, how do they manage traveling? Because speaking is a very exhausting career because you're constantly traveling, right? How many keynotes do they do per year and what kinds of events do they speak at? And when they're not traveling, what kinds of work are they doing in their business? And so I look at people who have career paths and businesses similar to what I see as my next level. And I start to kind of deconstruct and take things away that I think would really work for me and support me. And so that's one thing that I like to do as well.
How do you make sure to keep your relationship sane in these times?
Yeah, it's hard. I think doing our best to be present has been the number one thing. So when you have so many things going on, it's very easy to feel like you need to be somewhere else. So when I'm with my baby, I might feel like I need to answer those 5 emails. When I am with my husband, I might feel like I need to put away the laundry that's sitting on the bed because we can't go to sleep because the laundry's sitting on the bed, right? And so learning how to let things be unfinished, knowing I will answer those emails, I will do this. I will do that other thing and be present in the pocket of your day. So boundaries has helped me a lot. So saying, being really clear on what they are. That way I don't have to think, when should I answer these emails? Should I answer these emails? Oh no, this person's waiting on me to respond. I know that Thursday at 10 a.m. I'm going to answer that email. And so I'm not so worried about that when I'm, let's say, spending time with my husband. And so being able to have different boundaries and kind of compartments in life of, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this allows me to be present. And so the biggest thing in our relationship has been being as present as I can and really trying to soak up the time we have together, because it's not as much as it used to be, or it just looks different. We're together a lot, but it's not necessarily like a date. It's more so, we're doing a job. And so that has been the biggest thing, the boundaries and just conscious intention of presence and gratitude and soaking it up, which is something, again, I think we can all use.
How do you get new clients nowadays?
Yeah. It's a combination of referrals and still do outreach. People always say, like, I can't believe you still do outreach. I can't believe you still pitch yourself. It's like, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. I mean, maybe someday I'll be so busy that I just won't have that need, but I find that if I can, reach out to the people that are really aligned, let's say it's an event that I just think would be a really great fit. It's like the easiest sale ever. Hey, I saw this event. I saw you had this other speaker last year. We speak at a lot of the same events. I think I'd be a great fit. Here's my information. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Can we get on a call? Like, why wouldn't I do those kinds of things? So I still do a lot of pitching myself and I enjoy it. I think it's a really great strategy. If you know who your ideal client is and you can really pinpoint it, it becomes a really easy sale, actually.
The podcast, how's it going? What are your goals with it?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I honestly started the podcast for fun, just because I thought that it would be fun to talk, because as a speaker, I like to talk. And it has gotten a lot more traffic than I ever expected. A lot of people find me through the podcast, which is really cool. Um, I want to grow it way bigger than it is now. I mean, I definitely can see it being in, the top, let's say, 20 podcasts in self-help in the United States. It does hit charts a lot, but not necessarily the top charts in the US, because those are super competitive. And so just trying to get it to that next level, have better guests, do more in-person interviews. I think that's really fun, even though it's a challenge to either fly people in or have people who are local and all of that. So those are things that I see in the future.
What are your goals this year? And generally, how do you approach goal setting?
Yeah. Well, I love, love, love goal setting. And I usually set goals for the year and then break them down for the quarter. And I reflect on them each quarter, because I think sometimes things change too. My goals for the year are different probably than past years. I want to do one keynote a month. So something that is very manageable with a newborn baby. That's probably my big one. And then I want to write my third book, which I know probably sounds crazy to want to write a book while you have a newborn, but I'm just really excited about what I have to say. And it's something that's really inspiring me. And as a mom, or as a working parent in general, I think that to be able to do something that inspires you actually makes you a better parent when you come back to your child. So I can't wait to spend time away and work on my book, cozy up at a coffee shop and write. Uh, and then, be able to come back feeling like my cup is filled. So those are probably the two main things.
It's like the baby get things done productivity method. Like when the baby sleeps, you're writing a book. So I think
Exactly.
there'll be a lot of chat GPT editing
Yes.
afterwards, because the brain might not be full tilt during these moments. Very cool, Jaclyn. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, my website is jaclyngallo.com. I'm on Instagram at Jaclyn T. Gallo, LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever you spend time on social media. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to connect.